It's my honor to present our good friend Trish Ernst from the Area Agency on Aging to say a few words.
I can't tell you how proud and happy we are to once again be a part of this conference. It's just one of the best days I think you'll have. It's such an amazing resource.
Every single medication that you have, that you take, that's helped you, that saved your life or that of someone else, every single one of those medications at one point or another was in a clinical trial or a clinical study. And so what that means is that if we don't have people to participate in clinical trials, and we'll tell you what that means, but if we don't have people participating in trials, we are never going to find any effective treatment, and especially not a cure for Alzheimer's disease. So really important that people consider research, and we'll tell you about what we do, what it's all about being a study, and we're happy to take any of your questions.
We have some very specific questions that we're trying to answer in a clinical trial. Is this new medication effective? Is it more effective than the current available treatment that's out there? Is it safe, and what are the side effects? It can take more than 10 years to bring a new drug to market because we have to do lots of testing to make sure the drug is safe and effective enough to make it available to the broader public.
Jen and TJ, how would you have described a clinical trial prior to your participation in one?
Before TJ joined his first clinical trial, now he's gone through two, I had no idea what a clinical trial was. I would have probably thought that it was very experimental. You had no hope left, and this might be your last shot. And they were kind of scary to me. I didn't know how well that you could actually really benefit from clinical trials. I thought it was more for the doctors to try new things out. Since our involvement with the two clinical trials now, my perception is totally different. Even if you have a great prognosis and a reasonable treatment plan in place, I would always suggest to everybody, and I do suggest this often, to look and see what clinical trials might be available, because it's amazing the advances that are being made, and it's really changed how I thought what I thought of a clinical trial, and I couldn't be happier with the results that we've had through ours.
What clinical trials do is they try to find treatments for patients. They try to improve on what's considered standard of care, and they use what kind of Jen was alluding to is there's a possibility that something out there in trial or in development is going to make someone's life either live longer, make someone's life better, make them healthier. And my perception has changed from it's a thing that needs to get done for a drug company to get approval for something to a very viable treatment and something that should be considered as a treatment option every time you go in for some kind of serious diagnosis, whether it's a chronic disease, whether in my case it was potentially terminal. It's an option, and it's an option that most patients don't consider because they're not aware of it.
And sometimes I would then say back to them, so this is what I heard you just say.
Active
Correct me if I didn't get that right. And so I would kind of repeat it back to them, having no medical background at all. And I would say back to them what they said to me. And then I would ask them to correct me if I didn't have it right. And I think that helped too, because then they realized I was really listening and I really wanted to understand this and take it a step further. I agree too with the tape recorder. Very good idea.
Okay. Tell me about clinical trials. Now, this is very important. You had a clinical trial you were dealing with. We always talk about demystifying clinical trials, that it's a tool one of the tools that we have in our toolkit that we don't really understand too well. What happened in the trial that maybe you thought, hey, I didn't know it worked like that? You know, how was the trial for you? How was the clinical trial for you?
For me? Or
For both of you.
Well, for me, it was wonderful. I mean, really, when you've got people looking at you that have a way to go, it's not for sure, but it's better than nothing. You're excited about trying it. I wasn't afraid. I thought God sent, I'll tell you why. I was teaching Genesis at the time. And the first time I showed up at Cedars-Sinai, there's the big Star of David up on the wall of the hospital. And then there's the statue of Moses. And we were just studying about Moses. And it was like God saying, okay, Connie, see, this is the right place. And I believed that, and everybody was so wonderful to me.
You know, clinical trials offer unique opportunities, but sometimes they have some of their own unique challenges because they require, there's a lot of what we call inclusion and exclusion criteria. Sometimes people have a hard time understanding why can't everybody just get something. And there are reasons and scientific rationales for it, but sometimes that becomes a little challenging to navigate. Yeah. They also, so that we can see something works and that we're doing something better, you know, to help improve someone's life, it requires follow-up visits at the places that you had your procedure done. So sometimes at the front, you have to realize this may require you to go to a distance at a month, 6 months, 1 year, depending on the clinical trial. Patients have to meet, the transcatheter valve is available for patients not in a clinical trial. It has been approved for 2 certain types of patients. Patients who are too sick or for technical reasons like Connie's have had prior radiation or can't have conventional surgery, or for patients that can have surgery but are very high risk at having surgery. So they're typically sicker people with multiple medical problems. There are clinical trials for patients that are considered moderate risk. So actually we can refer you to, we'll give you information outside a website so you can look it up and see a site near you.
By the way, if you are interested in talking to this terrific trio, it's a dynamic duo, terrific trio, and learning more about this, they'll be sitting right there outside these doors at this table.
Well, I thought I'd just sit right here.
Thank you very much for joining us. This was spectacular. Having a caregiver in a room of caregivers is lovely. Thank you again. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, I thank you for thanking me, but I'm not doing it for anybody but me.
Well, thank you for that. Because I tell caregivers to do that too.
That's what I'm doing. I'm doing it for me.